Today we have a very special episode of the Ango Show. We are here live from the Woodward Sports Network studio in Detroit, Michigan. My name is Ango, and I'm joined by the legendary Darren McCarty.
Thanks for having me, bud. Big fan of the show, obviously, and that goes without to say what a wrestling fan I am. But we got SummerSlam in Detroit right now, so the fact that they're bringing it here, such an exciting time to go through the card with you and predictions. And I'm here just to keep you accountable and tell you when you are absolutely wrong. That's all.
I love it. But you're right. Detroit, Ford Field. Over 50,000 people in attendance flying into Detroit. This is obviously a big deal for the city. 8 matches on the card. 8 matches.
Do you like that? Start with that. Is that too much? Is that just enough, the way that the WWE does big events like this? Because now it's coming into our hometown and stuff like this. Ford Field, obviously, big enough to hold that in the 50,000. But do you think an 8-match card is... think it's right, or do you think it's too much, too little?
I love quality over quantity, but as somebody who's paying for good seats, of course I would like to see more. Obviously, one of the big things this time around is Trish Stratus, Becky Lynch. Their match has been postponed all the way to Canada in a couple weeks for Raw. Rhea Ripley doesn't have a singles match. I think that's a little bit of a problem because you have your women's world champion. You also have 2 of the biggest names in your women's division missing the show. I'm a little bit bothered by that, to be honest. I think they could have done a lot better when it comes to setting up the card. But when you look at the quality of this card, and we'll definitely talk about it, there are some very big marquee matchups that are happening.
So in saying that, the fact that, is it fair to say that the WWE, and you mentioned that maybe the oversight was in the women's division, that's not the first time, or not, if I think women's card, or I want to watch women, I'm thinking Impact.
Yeah.
Best. So AEW's and WWE are fighting it. So hopefully they get it. I think it's a big deflation here. I want to see Rhea Ripley.
Yeah.
She's absolutely, if not, the best, one of the top 3 in the world right now, and to miss her on the card. So hopefully the rest of them can make up for it.
Yeah, and I think it's very telling. Me and JB were talking about it just a second ago. But if you look at people like Jade Cargill, right? Very big name in AEW, potentially could be leaving AEW. What would be the purpose of going to WWE if Rhea Ripley, your champion, is missing from the second largest pay-per-view? Trish Stratus, Becky Lynch. We're not talking about, some young up-and-comers. We're talking about their biggest names in their women's division, and you kind of hit it right on the head, right? We got Impact with the best women's division, but we're talking about WWE, and I just feel like that's very disappointing.
Well, hopefully maybe that's the charge that they're looking at, but I guess if you're looking for the sell of why to come to the company for the women, that's really not it, at least for the top stars.
Absolutely. We got to talk a little bit about this card. They did something very interesting. It's kind of a late addition, but they did a Slim Jim Battle Royal. So keep in mind, there's really no big storyline going in for this match. We're talking about matches missing from the card. We're talking about people missing from the card. But they have a Slim Jim Battle Royal. WWE wants their sponsorship revenue so bad. And clearly this is a match, obviously they're just trying to get people on the show.
But seriously though, Ango, think about it. Who's the first person you think about if I say Slim Jim? Is it not Macho Man Randy Savage to a Slim Jim?
Yeah.
Right? So the marketing to whatever as Slim Jims in wrestling over, and I know for my demographic, be 50, years plus or whatever, that's just a no-brainer. Ooh, yeah, slap to Slim Jim. It's a Macho Man, but it's all wrestling. So it's a great way. Like you said, it's the business way to get how many people in the Battle Royal? 20?
We'll see.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Names out there that wouldn't usually get used. So, yeah. Interesting, exciting. Yeah, it'll be always interesting to see who wins. And what do they win?
We don't know.
A Slim Jim commercial?
We have no idea.
Absolutely.
It would be nice if they win something special, right? It would be nice
something
if
like that. You see them on the next National Slim Jim commercial or something like that. That'd be cool.
So that makes me wonder.
So that means that I'm picking my Slim Jim winner. Is LA Knight fighting anywhere else?
He's got a match on SmackDown against Sheamus. So by the time this airs, we'll find out, hopefully, who's going to be in that match.
Okay, because maybe if it's for the Slim Jim, LA Knight, for the Slim Jim. He'd be a great Slim Jim. I'm calling it right now, right here.
Have you seen the commercials?
Show.
Have you seen the commercials of LA Knight?
The commercials.
There's a thread on Twitter of all these old commercials that LA Knight once appeared in, back before he was a WWE superstar.
I do remember that, actually, yes.
It is the craziest thing because it's some of the most cringiest stuff. But if you want to talk about a guy whose journey going to WWE and actually becoming what he is today, it is one of the most amusing threads you'll ever see on Twitter. Literally, this guy has done every type of role you can imagine. And now he's in this spot where 50,000 people are going to be chanting LA Knight, yeah. He's got to win, right?
Brilliant.
He's got to win.
Absolutely.
Now, the real question is, this match does, let's say LA Knight's in the match, right? And I feel like maybe a lot of people will disagree with this, and I'm not trying to be controversial, but LA Knight is completely over. We know this. He has a very huge stop right now.
So now it brings a different conversation because he's absolutely the people's champ. Again, not to and forget all the comparison. Oh, I can't like him because he's too much like The Rock or trying to be too much like Stone Cold. No, he's taking the best of everything and combining it. But he is the people's champ.
Yeah.
Right? Not the corporate, not Vince or Triple H or whatever. It's the people that have chosen him. It's the same way as like Dom is the biggest heel on the planet that nobody lets him get a word in edgewise, which is, huge too. So yes, because the people have chosen him. But that doesn't always mean the good, right? If you're a performer, you want the company to choose you to get ahead. Yes. How many times do we see? Is that what we're worried about?
I'm worried. I'm worried that this is, if he wins, it's kind of like a charity, right? Like they're just doing it because they know that people are starting to get upset that he's not doing anything relevant.
Well, so you're saying that if he wins and then nothing comes of it.
Yeah.
So if he wins and then he gets a commercial so as long as something comes of it, if there's a storyline.
Yeah.
Just the same way as that we expect him to continue to lose. Because didn't we all expect him to win Money in the Bank? Not saying that Damian Priest wasn't deserving, and I can understand the why they gave it to Damian Priest because of what he did with Bad Bunny, how he's earned that.
Yeah.
But my only concern would be is if you don't see a future. Maybe they're using the LA Knight and not letting him win because they don't need to let him win, and they'll continue to keep fighting against it, right? Fighting against it for the people until the people have had enough, right? Because who's going to get mad? He's getting treated the same way that he's always been treated by the company.
Yeah.
Because the people are treating him differently.
So that makes me wonder, if he doesn't win, if LA Knight is off the table, the way I want to see this kind of play out, the Battle Royal actually starts developing stories for some of these people, right? Some of these guys stuck in the mid-card, they need something for the rest of the summer. We're going to go into Payback, Fastlane, Survivor Series. Maybe they can use this as a way for LA Knight to actually lose and then give this to somebody who maybe is struggling to get over. So I want to kind of throw out the idea of Bronson Reed because my prediction for this match is Bronson Reed. I think if you have LA Knight get eliminated, you can have some sort of surprise. You can have somebody take him out. Bobby Lashley might be coming back. You can start new feuds or new stories for LA Knight. Do you risk it?
You don't need to pay LA Knight off ever until the fans start going south on him, and that's not going to happen. Fans are going to get more behind him the more that he loses. I think you're absolutely right. Who are they going to use the shine of him?
Yeah.
He's just going to shine guys now, right?
Yeah.
So he's a shiner. He's a shoe shiner. So yeah, I could shine shoes, shine up the guys. So do you think it's Bronson Reed that needs the shine? Is he the guy that you're thinking of?
I think so. But again, it really just depends what WWE wants to use this Battle Royal for, because it's sponsored, right? We saw WWE implement this with Cinnamon Toast Crunch at WrestleMania. We saw the Mountain Dew Pitch Black. I feel like WWE should actually utilize this as like whoever actually wins is, somebody they really care about growing. I don't want to see, in the past we've seen these Battle Royals or Andre the Giant Battle Royal. These things happen and nothing really comes from it.
Right.
I want to see them do something. I want to see them start here. But most importantly, I want it to be for a guy who is just right there, just trying to get that next spot. I feel like Bronson Reed is almost there.
Well, forget about who that guy is. Do you feel that because this is Triple H's WWE, correct?
Yeah.
Do you think that that's what's different? Because we're talking as if it's still Vince McMahon in the old way where they do that and there's no payoff to it. Because I think that, to your point, we should pay attention to who the shine gets to. But you're exactly right as far as the payoff for LA Knight. Oh, he's already there.
Yeah.
And I think they know that, right? You gotta. To me, it's with Triple H and with Shawn Michaels. I mean, remember these guys were the heart of DX, so they know about the people being behind you and all that stuff. So definitely willing to. They've earned my trust and storyline, obviously, just by going with the bloodline and stuff like this. But we'll have to wait and see. These are great questions you bring up because, the history tells us this, but is it going to be different?
It's got me scratching my head.
Well, it's more so scratching your head that it's not put the person in, right? This person needs this. Are they going to use this?
Yeah.
As a building block.
Yeah, it just seems like this was charity. I feel like they threw this match on the card, ad revenue coming in, right? Sponsorship money. They're going to get people on the card, and that's a great thing. But I really hope WWE doesn't make that mistake because there's a lot of people right now. Johnny Gargano's another one. I know they're doing some stuff
He just made an appearance.
We got Gargano. We got a whole bunch of people. We got
came
Nakamura.
back for the first time in a few months, right?
Yeah, we got Ciampa too. And they might have some stuff. They might have some stuff there too. So it's just like I'm looking at a whole bunch of people. Triple H brought back a lot of guys.
Yeah.
And when he brought back a lot of people, I think fans kind of expected immediately that these guys were just gonna, and that hasn't necessarily happened. And I'm a momentum guy. If you don't have momentum going into a match, you probably shouldn't be winning the match. And I don't really know who has the momentum to win this match. That's why it's like if LA Knight doesn't win, I can understand why. But also, I just feel like people are going to get sick and tired.
But here's the whole thing: is if it's a Slim Jim Battle Royal or whatever, and the payoff is you get a Slim Jim commercial,
yeah,
that would be money.
Yeah.
Then you would understand why he should win.
For sure. So my pick, I'm just going to put it out there. Just
who's all in it?
We don't know. They haven't announced it yet.
So you're going to say Bronson Reed?
I'm going to say Bronson Reed, and if he's not in it, then it's just got to be LA Knight. And I know people are going to hate that, but I just don't think LA Knight needs the win, but he kind of does. It's just a lot of people are going to be upset because at the end of the day, LA Knight is the people's choice, like you said, right? And if you're the people's choice, the people are impatient. They don't want to wait. But I'm just sitting here thinking, what does it matter? Like, okay, he's on a commercial, that's great, but...
Yeah, no, I get it. He gets the commercial, but then is he going to get the push? Because right now, look at the same thing is that everybody who was upset that Cody didn't get the payoff at WrestleMania, and look at where we're at right now, still waiting.
Yeah, maybe
till next year for the payoff. To WrestleMania a year later.
Right? I do want to throw one thing out there though, because you mentioned Cody. Cody didn't get the payoff, right? But Cody's in a hot...
fans didn't get the payoff.
The fans didn't get the payoff, yeah. So Cody is still doing his thing right now, but he's still getting the top babyface reaction in the company, right? I don't know if the same could be said for Sami Zayn or some of the other guys that fans wanted to see dethrone Roman Reigns, right? So when I look at all of the storytelling that WWE is doing, do you really listen to the fans? Because fans, they wanted Sami. Sami was supposed to be the guy to dethrone Roman. Sami didn't do it, and right now he's not even on the card. Tag team championship isn't even it's not even on the card. So it's like, I think fans, do you really favor what the fans' response is when they're cheering like crazy? Because at some point the fans get sick and tired. They don't, there's something
the
there.
Old way that the WWE doesn't. There's something there to all of that.
If you're trying to please every single fan, I feel like you're going to hurt the product more. But at the same time, too, you have to strike when the
Do you think WWE tries to please the fan? Because I don't. I think that's more AEW.
I think WWE will try to please the fan when it
suits their purpose.
When it suits their purpose, yeah.
Yeah, the AEW is more of doesn't it? My perspective is that here's how I look at the big three or whatever, right? Like that, like where Impact has the best storylines. It doesn't matter what it is, whoever they bring in, out, whatever, like this. This is there's storylines that are built, like always the stories and stuff like this. AEW more of being the younger company and stuff like this tries to make their fan base happier.
Yeah.
WWE knows what their fan base is and sticks it to that. But again, at the end of the day, they're the monolith, bro.
Yeah.
They're the NFL.
Yeah.
You know, they just move along, and when it matches up to what they think, but I don't think really like at all do they to the fans. Now JB's in here, right? Running the 1s and 2s. That's JB Smooth from, you can catch him on Woodward Sports, you know, the Bottom Line with Armani and Edwards and stuff. But JB, the reason why I asked you here, because you're the biggest wrestling fan with us too, but is that the same? Do you get that more or less the WWE, AEW, or what Ango's talking about here?
I kind of get the same thing that Ango's talking about right now. Like, I feel like LA Knight would be the perfect person to win this gimmicky match from Slim Jim that they've put on, but he doesn't need it because he's already over. I mean, you can already tell that right now by his T-shirt sales right now. He's been the top in the company for this past month, and I believe top 4 this month as well too. He doesn't need this push. I mean, if they want to put him in this match to sit here and push the next storyline that he'll have, I think that's perfect. Bronson Reed is a perfect example, as you said, that could use that extra little edge, because I used to enjoy watching him in NXT and just think that he was the next person up there. So I mean, the commercial angle for Slim Jim, it would be nice. Like, yeah, I mean, LA Knight has that acting background a little bit from commercials he's done, but it's not needed. He doesn't have to do this. So my prediction for this match is probably going to be LA Knight or Bronson Reed for me, either or.
Yeah.
I just hope, to your point, Angle, is that whatever it is, that something's done with this. It moves forward in a story. It's just not another, like what we think. Why are we talking about this as here's another advertisement grab?
Yeah.
Because that's what they showed in the past.
Yeah. That's what it feels like, and we'll see what they do. But we're going to move on. We have another big-time match. This one is actually my sleeper match of the night. It is my match of the year. Very, very high expectations.
Oh, boy.
Logan Paul versus Ricochet. Very, very interesting, because Logan Paul, Ricochet had this incredible spot at Royal Rumble from each side of the ring. They collided, got everybody talking.
That one was like a 10. And then they had another one that was like
a 2.
A negative 10. Yeah. But that didn't work out so well.
Yeah. There's something there about this match.
So I will agree with you. They have chemistry, even in something else and whatever else. But okay, sleeper match because of expectations. But don't we agree that, like, Ricochet, and I'll go back to Prince Puma, right, which was when I absolute underground, which is like where I was like, who is this guy? And then to follow him, hats off, one of the most electric, athletic guys in the ring. And Logan Paul, I mean, listen. He can wrestle. He's an athlete. He's young, dude. I mean, I wish I had his chops. But at the end of the day, bro, you match of the year and sleeper on the card. Do you understand? So I didn't think you were going with this match. I'm going to tell you the one who I would put the same moniker on. But who do you have winning this match?
I have Ricochet.
You have Ricochet winning this match.
I do. So Logan Paul, they announced that he's going to be doing a boxing fight in October on the same card as KSI. I think WWE, especially if Triple H is really, captain of the boat right now, I think he's going to do what's right and have Ricochet go over. Because at the end of the day, Logan Paul is best for business. We have seen every single time he steps in the ring, they're making money. They got people talking. That's why I think Triple H understands Ricochet doesn't have too many chances left. He's been on the main roster for a long time. He's held the Intercontinental Championship before. But even that, nobody really cares about Ricochet as, one of the top performers. And when you look at what he actually does in the ring, he's very, very good. He's very entertaining. But he hits that ceiling, right? You have a win over Logan Paul. Let it go viral. I think you can do so much with Ricochet as a potential, you got to look at those mid-card titles. That's one thing. You can even look at, maybe WrestleMania next year. Have them run it back. Like, let this be their thing. There's one thing that Cody Rhodes said in the podcast with Impulsive, and basically he was recommending to Logan Paul, I think this was 8 months ago to a year ago, he told him to study Will Ospreay versus Ricochet. And that to me was something that was very interesting, because I have a very strong feeling that Logan Paul and Ricochet are going to try and recreate that magic from Will Ospreay and Ricochet.
And you know what? In all honesty, which if you say that, not, you know, this ain't saying, when you bring up a guy like Will Ospreay, it's like saying Wayne Gretzky in hockey. We're not comparing, saying is that good, but he has the makeup, and he's bigger than that, but from what I said, his moveset is that he could probably incorporate. Now, I don't want to see him do no Tiger Driver 91 or anything like that. I don't think that's a good idea. But to the fact of trying to do that, that's a great little nugget that you and why we all watch the Ango show pick up on.
Yeah, I definitely believe that's going to be something they try to replicate. You can't replicate it entirely, but I think they want that magic. They want that flair.
Want that vibe. They want
do.
that fight feel, and they want the fact that it's in there, and the fact that they want, you know, people to understand like this, to bring out how good, you know, Ricochet already is.
Yeah.
That's something they're trying to get to him. Now, I agree with you that I'm going to take Ricochet, because I think it does better to have Logan Paul lose and be a whiner and to be the Maverick heel with all the boxing stuff and coming back. And, you know, I can win in a real fight in boxing, but I can't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it plays out. But when you brought up Sleeper and Match of the Year candidate, dude, I thought you were going with my guy. Which I don't think my guy. Anybody who knows me knows Drew McIntyre's my guy. So Drew versus Gunther's going to be a banger, bro. I don't think Drew gets the title. I wish that he would. But to me, I think this has slobber knocker, banger all into it. And here's the difference, right? And, you know, where Drew and Sheamus are a lot, and you saw what Sheamus and Gunther did. But Drew is more, it's the Scottish in him that it comes by more naturally.
Yeah.
The barroom brawl and the things that stories that I've heard, this is going to be unbelievable.
So I'm glad that you brought up this match. I knew you would bring up this match. I just had that instinct. In my notes, I put, just let them wrestle. That's it. Because we know that these two guys are going to go out there and have match of the year quality. It goes to show you how strong SummerSlam's card is, by the way. The fact that many of these matches could potentially be one of the best matches of the year. But Drew McIntyre should not win this match whatsoever.
No.
And it sucks, because I feel like he is so good, and he is going to bring the best out of Gunther. But right now, what we're seeing with Gunther is probably the most exciting thing we have ever seen, because he went from Walter, everybody thought he was done. He went from NXT to the main roster, everybody thought it was over. They started to change some stuff. This guy has managed to be the Intercontinental Champion for over a year. He's super close to breaking Honky Tonk Man's record, but this match is going to slap. So what do you do here? How do you have Drew McIntyre finally come back and then just lose? And it's tough, because they booked this match.
Because you'll have to get Ludwig and Kaiser involved, where it doesn't go. He can't beat Gunther. Won't beat him straight up. Even though, think about it, who's the one guy on the roster right now that you say is fit to dethrone Roman Reigns? And it's not Brock Lesnar, and it's not Cody, and it's Gunther. Yeah. Gunther is, when you put him in that ring, and wait till that exchange of chops.
Oh, my chest already hurts.
In
D-Mac.
Ford Field,
it hurts.
It'll sound like the cannons going off after a touchdown. Right? I can't wait for the Claymore is one of my favorite finishers, just how he hits it out of nowhere. But you're right. It's just gonna be one of those unbelievable, fights.
No, it's definitely gonna be. And I'm glad you said fight, because I feel like there is gonna be that grittiness involved. It's not gonna feel like a wrestling match.
It's gonna turn more into a fight. It might start wrestling, and it's gonna turn into a fight and a brawl and whatever like this, and something There's got to be some sort of shenanigans so we can say, well, yeah, he needed, even though maybe not. But, I mean, it's just like two gladiators and Goliaths of men.
Do you think that this match could be what ultimately puts Drew McIntyre as one of the top heels in the company?
You think Drew McIntyre's a heel?
I think they want to go that direction.
Yeah, but see, isn't Gunther more of a heel?
He is. So clearly, we're going to go into this match, Drew probably being more babyface, obviously. But if he loses to Gunther, I feel like that could be the thing that
but
really...
Isn't the new thing, you know, sort of like the fence ride, like either or, this and that? Like, because to me, like, it's that ultimate gladiator. Yeah, you're going to have some bad... but Drew McIntyre, like, will always be... Like, just because when we won the championship and all the stuff that he and people forget during COVID of what he carried this through, you know, carried the company through. So I hope, yeah, if he can go mad heel, perfect. Maybe that's what they need for him to go like F you heel.
So let me ask you then. Let's say he turns heel, because right now there's a whole bunch of talk about his contract status. Nobody really knows if he's going to stay with WWE.
Right, we heard
knows.
a lot of rumblings about AEW or whatever else.
A lot of people are pointing to creative. So let's say he turns heel, and this is going to kind of segue into another match, but you have to wonder what's next. If he loses to Gunther continues to just go on this massive reign with the IC title. He'll probably go and set the record, which is the right thing to do. I don't argue that whatsoever.
Right.
But Drew McIntyre coming back, getting that loss, he turns heel, and this is where I kind of get conflicted. So I'm really curious to know what you think. But I look at Cody Rhodes. He's going through adversity. There's some history there between Cody and Drew McIntyre. A lot of people seem to forget that. They both took separate routes. You know, they left WWE, came back. Like, I'm in favor of Drew turning heel. I'm in favor of Drew getting that storyline with Cody. But then I also worry, is Drew going to lose?
No, but what about Drew? Cody needs support. Cody needs a heater. Cody needs somebody that knows him to have his back through this journey of coming back redemption. Drew's second time around. Is it something that, you know, that they could be on the same page that Drew sort of has Cody's back, and, you know, on the outside, maybe something like that helps him fight back to the I don't know, but I mean, it with everything, like, doesn't it bother you, like, every time when Cody gets into it and you know, like, he's got no backup, right? Like, isn't it about time that the locker room sort of shows him if he's gonna, because if his path is to be champion, and if his path is to get to places that his father never got, right? Isn't that the locker room? And isn't it like turning over? I think Drew McIntyre's a perfect guy because of the both similarities of being away, you know, of being there, then having to leave, and then coming back. I know, you know, that's what you're trying to do, but I got my mission, you got yours. But put that aside. Let me help you. I don't know.
D-Mac, let me ask you, how much do you care about wins and losses in wrestling?
Zero.
I
care about the story.
That's how I feel. But then, do you think people will start to reject some of these stories?
Okay, so wins and losses when the story, like, so the storyline's first to me, right? So the win doesn't really matter until the win matters in the story.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's certain things that of how you lost and this and it didn't matter, but then when it matters, you have to win those. Yeah. You can't continue to lose unless there's an explanation for it and you see the way that it is.
I get a little frustrated. You could tell me if I feel wrong for thinking this way, but I look at Drew McIntyre. He carried WWE through the pandemic era. Then you see he does some stuff with Karrion Kross as he returns, and I personally enjoy it, but I just didn't feel like there was anything special about Drew McIntyre after. It actually got to the point where I felt like Drew McIntyre could have gone to New Japan or even AEW, and I would have been totally supportive of it. Like, I feel like he's kind of achieved everything he needs to in WWE. Am I wrong for thinking that Drew McIntyre doesn't have
much reason to stay in WWE at this point?
No, are you right? If the path of creative or dismissal that has continued, no, he should go somewhere else again. Whether it's somewhere where he could be appreciated to the athlete that he is. Yeah. Because I think that's the case, and I don't think he's the first one or the last one in the WWE. But yeah, a little. They sort of dismissed him and moved on, and like all their more of their eggs in the Seth basket or things like that. So yeah, unless there was money or whatever else, like creatively, obviously not getting listened to or whatever else. But I think he's got bigger potential, right?
Yeah,
he's a big, like, he proved to me during COVID and when he was, won the championship and stuff like that, like, to me, do you not agree that he's a top level star?
100%.
And he's not used like a top level star since, fans have been back.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. I definitely agree.
Isn't he one of the guys that deserves the most out of like a championship run with people because he didn't get it? And not just because of that, but just because of the sacrifice of what he did and what he, for back then.
Do you remember how bad fans wanted Drew McIntyre to dethrone Roman Reigns?
Oh, 100 million%.
They're in the UK.
I was one of them.
Stadium filled. It just seemed so right, and I feel like they lost a little bit of that, and it kind of worries me.
And if I was Drew and so you asked me as a professional athlete, like, what do I always say? I say we forgive, but we don't forget.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think Drew would either. So we'll see, and that maybe how this match plays out in the story to this match at the end after SummerSlam. Let's continue this conversation.
I want to see. I think we get the heel turn though. That for sure.
And if we do, and so what would that tell you? If you get the heel turn or something, then he's embraced.
Yeah.
Right. Embrace that he's getting some new creative that we're talking about. With new creative, then he should stay. Right.
Yeah.
We both agree.
I agree.
I agree too.
Cool. Let's move on to Cody and Brock.
Now, does anybody think Brock's gonna win?
I mean, I checked my Discord server. There's a lot of people who think.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's break it down because obviously got to go. Can Cody survive losing to Brock here?
No. He has to win.
He has to win, right?
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
They've used all that up, right?
Yeah.
What do your Discord guys say to, or girls say to why they think Brock's going to win?
A lot of people think that after Roman goes through the bloodline stuff, he's going to need another opponent. And there's a lot of people who have this conspiracy that Paul Heyman and Brock are still in cahoots with each other. So a lot of people think eventually it's going to lead Brock back to Roman.
No, that could be right, but they're in cahoots for... That's fine, but what does that have to do with Cody not beating Brock right now?
It does. It does. So the conspiracy that I read was that basically... And again, this is in Discord, but one of the guys mentioned... What's the story between Cody and Brock? We really don't know, right? And some people believe that Paul Heyman, working with Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, set this up, right? So that way Brock Lesnar stops Cody from going back to Roman.
Okay, great. But wait, so he's just not... So Brock Lesnar is supposed to beat him down so Roman Reigns doesn't have to fight him again?
Correct.
Oh, okay. So... If I'm WWE, how's that good for business?
It's not.
No. Where's the dot? Like, follow the money, guys. Yeah. How much money is made from Cody and Roman not fighting again?
You're missing out on a lot. Cody is the guy.
The whole dude, not just. You're missing the whole Christmas payload, bro. They're waiting on that matchup again because where are they gonna have it? Jerry Dome? Where's the largest place they can sell 100,000 tickets to whatever?
I think they're doing it in Philly. I think Cody wins the Rumble again. That's why he has to beat Brock. The whole story is literally facing adversity. This is his hard times.
Right. No, we understand that to why, because he's faced it again.
Yeah.
So if it is towards WrestleMania to defeat Roman and stuff like that, you're not going to have the payday. So Brock wins, then what? You're still, what, you got him chasing, Cody chasing Brock till WrestleMania, or it's off the table or whatever. I mean, this is the way it's all set up, right?
Yeah, if you look into this, there's a lot of holes and flaws in it, and that's one of the reasons why I struggle with this matchup, because I can understand why people would want to see Brock win, but if Brock wins, it's not, it literally kills everything.
No, but I mean, like look at the storyline played out from the 30,000-foot view.
Yeah.
Right? It was always supposed to be, this is where he wins.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
And either, how about this? How about with this one? And yeah, they're in cahoots, but that's where Paul and Brock eventually, because they are in cahoots, help Cody win. Right? That's where it eventually is the turn. So you're right, but Brock Lesnar he doesn't want to be champion again. He just wants to get paid. So he can be the higher gun. After Cody beats him this time, then he'll listen. Right? That's the reason I said have McIntyre's back, but it could be Brock Lesnar being paid to be his back. You know, having the whole Heyman across, oh no, I'm scared every time. And then at the end, it's like, yeah, guess what?
Yeah.
That's maybe.
Listen, I don't feel like this is something that could be argued. I don't think Brock should win. I don't think they should even have Brock even look like
How can Cody survive a Brock win? Or what does this mean? How long does it take him to get out of whatever? Like, what's your initial reaction when Brock beats him again?
I'd be done. I turn that shit off. No, hold on. Because I'm going to be there. I'm going to get up from my seat and walk out. No, I'm being serious, too. JB, I'm not joking.
Wait. So, Ango says that if Brock beats Cody, he's going to turn his phone on live as it's happening, and we can watch him walk out of Ford Field.
I'm walking out, for sure.
In disgust.
Because there's no reason why you do it. Brock doesn't need to win at all. Cody needs the win, but also, too, we're looking at WWE doing everything long-term, right? Clearly, long-term seeds are being planted. They're telling stories. What did Roman Reigns say? We're giving you filet mignon. We're not giving you microwave cooked food, whatever, right? Like, they're building stories. Cody is the guy to dethrone Roman Reigns, and that happens at WrestleMania. So Cody has to continue the journey. The problem is Cody losing to Brock Lesnar just resets the process. And I think that's a very big mistake, because right now the crowd is very hot. We talked about merch sales earlier. LA Knight for the month of July was number 1. Cody Rhodes was number 2. The Usos and Roman Reigns were 3 and 4. So to put that in perspective, aside from LA Knight, Cody Rhodes we see the reactions. We know people love him, but the momentum is still there. And I remember everybody on Twitter was trying to tell me when Cody lost at WrestleMania, it's over. Fans will turn away. If he loses to Brock Lesnar,
loses at SummerSlam, yes,
this would completely shut people off, and that's why I would be disgusted.
Because here's the thing, right? When he lost to WrestleMania, everybody, as pissed as they were, was willing to hear the explanation, or willing to say, okay, maybe a little bit that it was premature. Now there's no waiting for any story to whatever else, right? There's no explanation to be told.
Yeah. Let me ask you. Just how do you see this match overall playing out? Let's say Cody wins. Well, if you were booking it, or as a fan, like, what do you kind of expect to see when this matchup?
I want to see somebody help him.
Yeah.
I don't think he has to be Brock Lesnar. Like, I don't expect Cody Rhodes. Brock Lesnar's a freaking monster. So I want to see, like, it's going to take, you're going to have to beat him being smarter than that. So I don't think a mano, but it might open up some things on affiliations, on who is sort of on his side, because that's the whole thing. Cody's been on this journey all alone. I don't think he can defeat Brock, at least, like, not realistically. Being the MMA fighter and everything like that, no, you got to have something up your sleeve. You got to be a little bit smarter. You got to get a little bit American dream with it. You can't be the nightmare. You got to be the dream, like your old man. You got to be a little bit smarter. You got to use it. Got to be there for the peoples.
D-Mac, it's all love, and I get what you're saying. I don't agree. Cody needs to win on his own.
See,
he has to.
Somebody doesn't have, but he's got to. Somebody's got to show support. He's got to get the pin and whatever like that. But see, but that's not realistic to me.
Yeah, it's not realistic. But you know, Cody Rhodes, he's gonna do the Cody Cutter. He's gonna do the 3 crossroads, like Superman style, Super Cena. That's the world that we're living in right now.
So how do we get him to that point? Right, because he's gonna have. There's got to be. He's gonna have the like Brock's gonna have. He's gonna have to cut him off, right? There's got to be something there where it shows that he's not alone. I'm not saying somebody has to interfere to be a part of it, but we got to see that he's not alone.
Yeah. One thing I do want to point out, as of right now, they didn't announce a stipulation, which I think could be the solution to what you're saying. Because if there's a stipulation of some sort, you know, no disqualification, last man standing, whatever. If Cody's able to use weapons or do something of that nature, I think that kind of fills the void that you're talking about. If they do keep this as a one-on-one singles match, I think that's very like.
So weapons would add to. Thank you for clarifying that. Weapons would be the same thing as having a friend.
Yeah,
as adding.
That's how I'm looking at it.
Something above where he's got to get it a little bit like death match, a little bit something where he can use. Something, a chair or something legally that would make sense in knocking Brock. This is Brock Lesnar, remember?
Yeah, I think to kind of paint the perfect picture for this match, I think it should actually be a little bit longer than most Brock Lesnar matches. So that's the first thing. Long match. Long, brutal. You really have to have commentary put over like this comeback story for Cody. Like it should be very clear that Brock doesn't look weak because Brock isn't weak, right? Got to have Brock look very dominant. I think Cody should end up stealing the win, get the win, put the nail in the coffin. But we're talking about SummerSlam, the biggest party of the summer, D-Mac. Surprise, surprise, surprise. We need something here. We need something to get people talking, and I'm going to throw this out there. I know some people won't like it, but I'm going to be honest. I love this. Bray Wyatt.
Oh, why not?
I love it. I love it. Bray Wyatt needs to come back. We don't know when, where. We don't know anything. But there is a very nice history between Cody and Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt obviously being from NXT.
So everything I said about Drew McIntyre, put in Bray Wyatt. Like as far as a ally, an ally or somebody to get involved. You're talking about they've been enemies or whatever like this, but is the
story needs to continue after, right? We need to see Cody continue to face adversity. That's the thing. We're talking about adversity. Cody beats Brock Lesnar. I wouldn't even be opposed to the idea.
So here's the thing. Bray Wyatt sort of gets involved with Cody not to help Cody, but the adversity where he gets the pin on, and then it leads to with Bray, because Bray sort of messed it around. It could even be that caused Brock the loss.
Yeah.
Right, but Cody still goes over and looks strong because everything you're talking about, the dominance, the this, the that, to whatever, he not only this, and then he's right off to the next one, right? Is that the buffer to WrestleMania?
Yeah, but it should ultimately lead with Bray Wyatt hitting Sister Abigail and Cody. So that way after everything happens. And then that way we can get to Raw and then we know, hey, what's going on? Because the interesting thing about Bray, we don't know. We saw him and Uncle Howdy. We don't know what the hell their plan is. But if I look at Bray Wyatt, I really miss the swamp version of Bray Wyatt. Oh. The most human version of Bray Wyatt that existed on television. To me, I think there's a lot of money in that versus Cody. And the good thing is, let's just throw this out there because I think this is so important.
Oh, wow, everybody loves a lantern.
Cody is one of those guys. We got to get back to Roman. He has to defeat Bray Wyatt, but we're talking about wins and losses. They don't necessarily matter. If Bray Wyatt is the Fiend or like Uncle Howdy and he's got the mask and everything, he can't lose because that character shows he's indestructible. But if you get Bray Wyatt, who's vulnerable, human, that version could lose to Cody. And I think I like that a little bit more than Drew McIntyre, for example, because with Bray Wyatt, he can afford that loss. It doesn't really matter.
Well, with Bray Wyatt, too, is that you have 6 months of story.
Yeah.
You have every week, you have so much more in-depth story. Drew McIntyre, to be honest, whether they turn him heel or whatever, that's only like, what, a 4-week program. You literally have almost 6 months, or like legitimately 4 months, right? So August, we're beginning August, September, October, November, December, into January, when you can sort of wrap this up and turn the corner to look into Roman.
Yeah.
I think, dude, I love it. I hope you're right.
Yeah.
I hope, anything Swamp. I mean, I love the Firefly Funhouse, and I love Bray Wyatt and stuff, but I like the older stuff more than the Fiend.
Yeah.
Because I think the creativeness and stuff like that, like the Fiend would be unbelievable in ICW, and the Fiend versus Cruel in ICW and deathmatch and stuff would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Just doesn't get the respect he deserves. But the Bray Wyatt character, and to your point about Cody beating Bray, that's real.
Yeah.
Right?
And
That's real.
I love the history too, because when you think of Dusty Rhodes and Cody Rhodes, and you think of NXT and you think of Bray Wyatt, I think there's going to be a lot that they could touch on. And then also too, I think when you look at WWE right now, one of the biggest things for Cody is it's working. It's working. The fans love him. And I think fans will be torn with Bray Wyatt. So with Bray Wyatt coming out and like attacking Cody, I think it actually just signifies like even a better response from the fans. Like I think people would be like, we love Bray, and we love that he's being this dark and heel character. Even when he shows a little bit of vulnerability, I think fans will start to resonate with that. But then he's going to do something dark and sadistic. And when he takes out Cody Rhodes, it's like, how do you not want Cody to go over? Then you eventually continue to tell the story. He then gets to Roman, becomes the guy to dethrone Roman. WrestleMania 40, it's picture perfect. This guy faces adversity. Fans are going to be happy. And I don't think you're killing Bray Wyatt's character by doing it.
I don't think that, like, what are you talking about? They've done everything to kill Bray Wyatt's character up until then. This might be the way that they can salvage it. Or to all of us who like Bray Wyatt and understand and the creativeness and whatever, what's going on the last 2 years?
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. So I hope, just for the fact that, like, I always like a Firefly Funhouse segment is money.
Yeah, they could do all of that, by the way, too, because there's so many versions of Bray.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, you could literally do so much.
One of my favorites was him and Cena.
Yeah.
Going through all in the dude,
Yes.
that was so, and dude, like, you get that, but if you didn't understand, like, you get that when you watch Peacemaker and you see more Cena and you understand. But just the way they put that together, I love that cinematic stuff.
I love it. There's a lot of potential there. You know what else I love? Because you mentioned realness, right? With Cody and Brock and realistic. There's a match on this card. MMA rules. Shayna Baszler versus Ronda Rousey.
Love it.
Love it. We don't know what this entails. We don't know whatsoever.
We know that Shayna's winning and Ronda's leaving.
We know this, right? What do they do?
We think we know this.
We think.
Right?
But what do they do? MMA rules. What when they say MMA rules match, what does that mean to you? Because I don't think they're going to put out an octagon or some shit like that. But what do you think this is going to look like?
I think they're going to, like, hit each other. Strike, submission, stuff like this. Like, I think that they've done it enough in training.
Yeah.
That they're going to be able to make it look as good. Like, they're going to go after each other. And, here's the thing, when you roll, that's, the term or whatever like this, is that you're going to put yourself or get yourself into submittable positions. It's that if we know, we might not know, even though they know. So how are they going to, oh God, you got me, and in, out of it and stuff like that. I think it makes it interesting. You're not going to go to the bathroom for this, or go get up. You're going to be interested in, like we're talking about, because we don't know what does this really entail.
Stipulation changed everything for me, because I think going into this match, I'll be honest with you, like, I always loved the potential of them working together, but I was watching the build every week, and Ronda Rousey, she just doesn't have like the promo skills. And then this past Monday, they do like these little sit-down video package with Ronda and Shayna, and it just felt so real.
Yeah.
And it's like that realism aspect of it, and I want to see more of this from WWE, because they give us this video package. They announce the match is going to be MMA rules. I don't even know what the hell that means. Like, is it going to be just submission and KO? Is it going to be...
But think about it. So, 50,000 people.
Yeah.
How many? So, 10%? So, 5,000, no, maybe 10,000 are familiar with what MMA.
Yeah.
But even so, you're familiar with MMA. You know absolutely everything. But when it comes to WWE, you don't know what their translation is.
Yeah.
To people that have been there. I think that's the intriguing part is like, I got to watch this.
Yeah. Which scares me.
Whoa,
It
why?
scares me because we're talking realism, right? We're talking MMA. Sometimes, hey, I just watched Derek Lewis on UFC, and
Yeah, but you're also, so here's where I say where it's just a tad different.
yeah,
Right? Can we agree that Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey in real life are probably really good friends?
of course. We know this, yeah.
So there's the difference. And you know what? You know why it's going to be so real? And this is my experience from being around deathmatch and being around, right? The closer that they are in real life, the more real and the harder they will fight each other than anything else. If you want to see, right, go look at Masha Slamovich, who's Masha Slamovich, who's on Impact, who's GCW, whatever. Her boyfriend's Akira.
Yep.
Go watch them fight.
Yeah.
Fight to the death.
Yeah.
And they love each other. So it's the same thing as like, you know what, you can push each other, and I'm sure these conversations between Ron are exactly how are we going to do this?
Yeah.
And it might, for lack of a better term, be a shoot.
But let me tell you what scares me. Did they do this to Ronda as a favor? Because if they did it as a favor, maybe they don't have plans for Shayna. And Shayna, when she was in NXT, was booked very strong, dominant. She looked great on the main roster. She hasn't been booked the same way. So are they doing this as a way, Ronda might be leaving WWE, potentially going back to UFC. She wants to put over Shayna. If this is a favor for Ronda Rousey, my fear is that this match will deliver. Sleeper, right? A lot of people not expecting big things from it. We get some gruesome stuff, just like you're talking about. They're very close. Picture perfect, but they don't do anything with Shayna right after.
Same conversation we're having with Drew McIntyre and Gunther. So it's not about the result, it's what comes out out of it.
And that's what scares
me.
me.
If they're smart, and if, as we expect, Ronda's walking away and not wanting this, that the plan should be leaving Shayna Baszler as the wow, man, she could rip Rhea Ripley's head off. Like coming out of there being as badass and making you think that wow, Rhea Ripley isn't as dominant, right?
Yeah.
We think of Rhea Ripley as not even Charlotte. Like Charlotte, poor Charlotte, man, is best in there, and the queen, and everybody automatically goes, oh well, second fiddle, third fiddle.
But do you see why it scares me when I talk about the women's division? Like, I can't be invested in the women's division.
No, yeah, and not even that, right? To the point, I didn't even think of it that way. Yeah. It's show me the booking moving forward, because we're not just talking about, we're talking the same conversation as with a men's match, former champion. Yeah. Somebody that, and in a situation that somebody they want in Gunther, we know that they want sky's the limit. So, yeah, unfortunately, I'm more worried about Shayna Baszler and how she looks coming out of this than Drew McIntyre, but those would be question marks.
Yeah. One thing I want to see for sure in this match, without a doubt, I want to see them take the ropes off. I want to see them kind of go that Raw Underground style. I want to see them kind of go that blood sport style.
What do you just want to see?
Yeah, just let them go. Because I feel like WWE, if they really
should have in the concourse.
Oh. Ooh. 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 D-Mac, now we're talking. Right?
All of a sudden, the spotlight. And
just let them go.
At it, yeah.
I want blood. I want gruesome. I want to see this become a really good match, because we talk about Rhea Ripley and we talk about the women's division, and there's just a lot of potential there. They have a great roster, but they're missing it with certain people. And Shayna was somebody they got it wrong with. This could definitely fix a lot of that. This is going to be a fun match. I have Shayna winning. We'll see what the MMA rules look like. But I want to throw one scenario out to you, because this is something that WWE has been doing with their pay-per-views. They have surprise call-ups. And I look at this as something where maybe Shayna kind of goes the same route as Trish Stratus did with Zoe Stark, right? Somebody came out to help Trish Stratus. It was Zoe Stark, and then Zoe Stark got called up. And I'm looking at Cora Jade from NXT. Just last night on NXT, she said she was leaving. She looked at the women in the locker room, said she was basically done. And I'm looking at somebody who could benefit from being on the main roster with somebody like Shayna. What do you think? Do you think they call her up? You think they do something here? Or does Shayna just flat out beat her? Or?
She's probably on the short list of being called up. So with all that drama, you'd sort of expect that might be that. You know, there's going to be a couple of surprises.
Yeah.
You know,
it feels like it.
It does.
Yeah.
And especially, like you said, the writing on the wall or whatever like this, if you follow NXT, and that's what they want you to do. You look at what WWE, and I'm a fan of it.
Yeah.
Right? The way that they've been doing the crossovers, right? You know, you look at, Judgment Day's been down there.
Yep.
You know, Dom was down there, beat, Wesley and stuff like that. You know, whether, like I said, whether the outcome or not, but they're using that and they're showing, how things storyline wise would make sense. That they were there yelling at each other, and see that more than not. So
yeah.
I think if I was gonna a bet on who would appear or whatever like that, and because she's on the short list of getting called up.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential there. I'm even thinking maybe they could start a new women's faction for Raw, since on SmackDown they got Damage Control. We don't know what's happening there. JC Jane, Gigi Dolan.
Well, the draft's coming up too, right?
Well, they just did the draft, so there's going to be another one next year. But they just did the draft around Backlash.
Okay, yes. So the question is that even in the past where draft has come, but that hasn't affected call-ups.
Correct, yeah. So now the call-ups can happen anytime.
What usually happens now is like the call-ups are like the drafts and like the legitimate draft choices to see who will go where. Yeah. And so would you say that Cora Jade and Shayna would be better on Raw or SmackDown? Well,
right now, Shayna's on Raw, obviously. So I would just keep her on Raw. I wouldn't do any switcheroos. I think Cora Jade would benefit from being on Raw. I mean, look, if I'm going to be honest with you, D-Mac, I would do something a little bit crazy. If I'm WWE, I make the call to Mandy Rose. I bring Mandy Rose in, and I have them start a new faction that takes out Ronda. Because if it's MMA rules, I'm guessing no disqualifications of some kind, right? We'll see, but I'm guessing they have something planned there. And if you really want to make a big splash, Ronda's on her way out. You got to have people talking about whatever's going to happen. You could have people just talk about Shayna Baszler, and that's good. But hey, you bring in Mandy Rose, Cora Jade, maybe you bring in JC Jane, Shayna Baszler, and it's their new 4 horsewomen. I don't know. Just something about like a heel takeover.
No, I like it because you got to look at who's going to man the mic.
Yeah, absolutely. Another match that we got Asuka, Charlotte, Bianca Belair, Women's Championship. D-Mac, how do you see this going down?
I honestly think they're going to give Bianca the title back probably. But I'm such a Charlotte fan. Yeah. I mean, it's so... But this sort of writings on the wall is that, she's carried the weight for so long. She's just there to make shine. Honestly, I hope Oscar would keep it, but I think they're going to give it back to Bianca. Yeah. I got Bianca winning it, and I'm just interested in seeing how it's done, right? No matter who the winner is. I don't think it's Charlotte, and I don't think that they have shown enough love for Asuka. Yeah. That it's going back to Bianca. So
I want to paint a picture for you, and I want you to tell me if I am Picasso or not, okay?
Okay. Is that a compliment if you're Picasso?
Yeah, hell okay. Yeah. All right, so we got a triple threat match. We got to let all of these women go out and wrestle. We saw what these women can do. We know they're good. Charlotte needs to cost Bianca Belair the win. That's number 1, okay? Charlotte costs Bianca the win. Number 2, Asuka is going to steal the pin. So Asuka gets Charlotte out of the ring. She pins Bianca Belair. The reason why we need this to happen, Bianca's kind of teasing the heel character. We got to get there. Let that be the moment that really sparks the heel turn. It doesn't have to happen at SummerSlam, but let that inspire the heel turn to eventually come on SmackDown. Those are the two things for sure. Then what we need is Io Sky to cash in. Io Sky needs to cash in. She needs to fail the cash in. And it's very important that WWE does it my way. All right? Because if Io Sky fails the cash in, she'll become the first person in WWE from the women's division to fail their cash in. So far, it's 100% success rate. She would be the first one to fail. Now, a lot of people would hate that because Io Sky, clearly a potential star. But in my mind, you don't want to devalue Asuka's reign just to give the belt to somebody else for no reason. Because with this, you're going to actually start creating storylines for the women's division without the women's title being on the line. So if Io Sky fails her cash in, how do they do it? Bayley officially turns on Io Sky, prevents her from happening. So
because we're still, sorry to interrupt, but we're still waiting, right? Like for Damage Control to officially, like everybody thinks that they're broke up, or but they haven't officially done anything drastic like this, right?
Yeah. And I think that's why it's the perfect moment because it swerves everybody. It really gets people on the side of Io Sky as a babyface too, right? And then it elevates Bayley as the heel, and you're able to do all of this. And two things actually end up happening, right? Asuka keeps the belt, and then Io Sky eventually will get her chance to get the belt, and that's how you build a top babyface without having to ruin Asuka's reign. And at the same time, you didn't have to ruin Charlotte and Bianca.
And plus, you got Bianca seething, right, getting upset to whatever else. So in that whole thing, you've baby-faced Io, you've healed Bayley even more back to where she wants to be. Asuka actually gets the shine as the baby, so Charlotte just is Charlotte, right? But you've given Bianca the route to, like you said on Monday Night Raw. No, I like, dude. You thought this way. I like it.
Picasso, right?
That is a Picasso. No, that's absolutely big. Because what is the one thing that I'm storyline guy? So what you've just done in a division, right? What do they need most, right? You've just injected to what you've said of everything else we were talking about, Shayna Baszler, and whoever they bring up, and all this stuff. You got. Who's the champ? Trish Stratton or whatever. You got all this different stuff when you've created new babyface, new heel, or whatever, where they can all go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've put new life for all these, and then it gives something for even Becky.
Yep.
Right. Which way does she want to come back and jump into whatever else?
So I look at this though, and I'm glad both of you gentlemen called me Picasso. I appreciate that because I really thought about this, and it solves the problem with the women's division. But you notice we talked about this right after Shayna and Ronda. I just solved a problem for Raw and SmackDown. They now have a women's division where multiple women are involved. Multiple people. The biggest issue that WWE has ever had with their women's division, Charlotte, Becky, Bayley, Sasha Banks, those four, it was always that they were in the top storylines, and now you're creating new stars while not impacting your current stars. To me, it seems like a win-win situation.
Well, what's the old school, right? And here's the one thing, right? And I'm not saying Bianca Belair is one of your top athletic talents, and she's great on the mic or whatever, but she's gotten a little stale.
Yeah.
Right? This just totally how do you also to give new life, like we're talking about, to what the women's division, what you just did to the women's division is exactly what we're trying to do with Drew McIntyre in the men's division, even though there are other storylines, so you get lost in the shuffle, but here you actually encapsulate and allow so many more women to be a part of.
Yeah, and just to kind of throw this out there too, Dakota Kai is currently injured. So Damage Control is kind of shorthanded. But I think even when she's ready to return, you have something there.
That makes it brilliant that it happened, that Bayley, without her, and she come back and she'd probably be Io.
Yeah, or she's got to pick sides between Bayley and Io. And I just think right now, WWE, if there's one thing that they've done a really good job, it's the long game.
They've done a bad job of is where the hell's Bailey been for the last year? Like, because ding dong, hello, or whatever the hell, like with Bailey around is so much better. Just the attitude.
Yeah, and it should have, when you look at damage control, and that was the surprise last year, right? It's the 1-year anniversary of the formation of the group. I think Bailey, people kind of forgot how good she is. So this right there, and again, yes, Io Sky does not cash in successfully, and that sucks. But the reality is, it will feel 10 times sweeter when she eventually gets that belt.
But she'll get more fanfare from doing it that way.
100%. So yeah, my pick, Asuka walks out as champion. Io Sky fails. We got the heel turns coming. We got tons of stories coming. I think we see a whole revamped women's division after this.
All right, I'm going to trust WWE not to be Picasso, Anthony, and I'm going to go with Bianca walking out with the championship.
I love it. JB, what do you think? I need your opinion on this.
Oh, man, you painted the perfect picture right there. I couldn't have said it any better myself. Like, I just love the idea of just Bailey going in there and basically costing the cash in for Ito and them getting into a fight. Finally, damage control fully breaks up. D-Mac, as you said, we haven't seen Bailey in a while. Like, we don't know what's going on with them. We don't know what's going on with damage control, but this is perfect. Asuka walks out still strong as your champion and starts a whole another line of feud. So this is perfect. Hats off, my man.
I love
Brilliant.
I love it. Perfect. So let's move on.
All right.
We got a very fun matchup. Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor. Unlike the women's match, there is no cash-in happening in this match. We're going to walk out with a new World Heavyweight Champion. It's going to be Finn Balor. Agree, disagree? What are you thinking? You're looking at me crazy,
so?
D-Mac.
I think so with the way, and obviously we want that to because the Judgment Day Davey Priest has the cash-in ability and stuff, and Willie not, stuff like this. I think it's time. Yeah. We're not getting the Demon Finn Balor, are we?
Nothing confirmed.
Nothing confirmed. Because if we get the Demon, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
But I think it's time because it's like the writing is on the wall for the dominance. I think with Dom, like I said, what was that, North American title or whatever like that, and Rhea having them, they got to get all the belts before they can lose all the belts. And I think the big thing, you don't think that Priest will cash in. I don't think he will either.
I have a very weird feeling that Damian Priest is going to be the sole reason why Finn Balor wins. It's a strange feeling, but I think if Damian Priest is the one...
And what have we seen from the Judgment Day is that as a faction, they're really good at helping each other.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Significance in Damian being the one to do it, though, is what's important. Because I look at this like the Bloodline storyline. Like, this should happen long-term story. Like, let it actually build. I think if Damian Priest is the guy to help Finn do it, it's always going to be known that Finn couldn't do it without Damian Priest. And that's why Damian Priest eventually cashes in on him. And I think there's a lot of potential with that story. But I just want to put this out there. The end goal should be Damian Priest. No matter what. Whether Finn Balor or Seth wins, it doesn't matter. Damian Priest eventually has to be the champion. But I'm just so happy. Just a couple years ago, Finn Balor was basically the veteran taking losses. He was jobbing on Raw. And they got him.
Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah. He was Dolph Ziggler, making other people look good. And for once, they've done something here where I just feel like it's magical. I think I'm very invested in this match. But the only thing I ask for WWE out of this one match, plant the seed. I don't know how you do it, but have Damian Priest give us the look on camera where he looks like he's about to cash in. He might attack Finn Balor. Just give us a little nudge to remind everybody that things aren't as good as they seem.
But this one is that, and also I think what's more important, I think you nailed it, right? We'll get to that point, but it's the point that we get the look that Finn knows that without Damian, they look at each other and they knows that I couldn't do it without you. Now we'll get to that before, but it's that look like I know that you know that I know that you know
Yeah.
That this is the way it is. The rest of them, all the rest of this 50,000 and the millions watching at home, no clue. But you know that look.
Yeah, they got to make it known.
That seed.
Yeah. Let me ask you too, just with overall World Heavyweight Championship, it's a secondary belt. Like, do you think Seth Rollins has been a good champion for this belt? Do you think they've done a good job of introducing this title?
Well, see, it's weird, right? Because it's supposed to be the belt to the fighting champion's belt.
Yeah.
Right? Is Seth the fighting champion or whatever like that? I don't know. He was the right out of him or AJ or whatever to carry it, but I don't think. Again, this goes back to our faith in WWE and what do they do after they have the story? It's sort of, hey, here it is, and then it's like, well, you're not fighting like, dude. Orange Cassidy's the one that's fighting every friggin', Orange Cassidy holds that TNT title, and every week it's about. That's what I was expecting out of this. So no, but that's creative. That's not Seth.
Yeah.
Seth's done everything Seth Rollins. Every time I see him, he's got a great outfit, being goofy as heck, doing that. But, like the fighting champion. That's what that belt. So, I mean, to me, it's not. I mean, Roman's is the belt.
It's all about what comes after, right? We keep talking about that. It just seems to be like that. That's the common trend. It's like it could go either way, but it's just what happens after. And I think the biggest issue that I'm starting to realize,
it feels like that belt's on hold.
Yes.
Like it doesn't. When you ask me that, and I don't want to say no disrespect to Seth Rollins because he's one of the best in the game or whatever. He's done everything. And a lot of times too, Ango, when we talk, they're doing everything they can with what they're given.
Yeah.
And you got to understand, it's WWE too. So this is the acting.
Yeah.
This is here's your role, memorize your lines, and do it.
Yeah.
Whereas AEW or Impact or whatever, it's here's the idea, put it, do you.
Yeah.
And that's a frustrating thing, right?
Yeah. And that's why it's like this is one match that I feel. It could go wrong.
Well, here's the thing.
If you don't end this match the right way, like if Seth Rollins walks out as champion, like that's cool, but like what's next?
And Priest
right?
cashes in,
and you're gonna wait. You're gonna do that fast? Let it build up. This is television, baby.
I understand, but But if you're gonna give it like right, because you think Judgment, then you would. Then they're going with the story that I told you, Finn, you couldn't get it done. So I waited, and I had to get it done. But we brought the belt back to the family. Yeah. That's another angle that might happen, which would suck. I like yours. I like your or I like what you said, the way that it should be. Yeah. So it's always in the back of the mind. So 6 months later, it comes out. You know that you couldn't want to. I could. Like all that family stuff.
Yeah, it's and it sucks because with the new title, like you want it to be on TV every week, and I think the Judgment Day. Which, by the way, I mean, we saw what Judgment Day was with Edge. We see what it is today. It is miles ahead. Like, it is probably the best thing they could have ever done. But, like, my fear is always what happens after once they finally reach the top of the mountain. And that's one of my concerns with Seth. So it's really important they don't mess up whatever goes on with Seth. But it's also important that, okay, even if Finn Balor wins, you don't want this to become the bloodline where it takes 3 years for something to happen. You don't, like... When's the culmination of it all? When does Damian Priest cash in? You got to tease these things. You got to keep planting the seed, but you don't want to run into this issue now where it's such a long-term story where people kind of get tuned out. And that's one of the biggest issues that they could potentially have. It's definitely enough to keep me intrigued. But you never know.
The whole thing is if you give it to Finn, and Priest has got the briefcase, he's always right there to cash.
That's the crazy part.
To cash in on him, and it could always be the hidden message about him saying, no, bro, we got this, whatever. Now I got you protected because I'm not going to cash in. And it's sort of like, and then they get mad at each other. And then you see that adds to the storyline in a different way. So there's so many things that they could do, just which way are they going to go?
I love it.
Do you have more trust that it is Triple H?
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
So do I.
I do.
Like, here's the one thing, too, is the fact that you're thinking about it is and I say this a lot with when we're talking to Detroit Red Wings. Yeah. Trust the Weiser plan, right? Who's in charge? The fact that Steve Yzerman, who was my captain for 3 of my 4 Stanley Cups and whatever like that, which as a player doesn't mean you're a great GM, but with what he's done when he was with Tampa to here to now, you got to trust that he's going to make the right decision, and that's how I look at it. Now, I'm more faith in Eisman than I do Triple H, but that's because I know him a little better.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I think, well, too, one thing to kind of throw out there, and this is why I try to think as long-term as possible, right? I look at LA Knight with Money in the Bank, and a lot of people were pissed about that. But I understood because I couldn't envision an actual story for LA Knight. Regardless of who he were to cash in on, to me, it's just a cash in and that's it. You made the fans go crazy. To me, this storyline is like, it's going to happen tonight. Then you turn on Monday Night Raw and they tease it. Maybe even tries to cash in and they can't ring the bell. It doesn't happen. You're like, fuck. Now you got to watch next week. I do like that element to wrestling because it's like, I'm patient. I know not everybody is. But to me, that's where I thought Damian Priest was the right guy.
Especially if he's going to cash in on his own guy when there's that inner turmoil, or if it's not, or you believe it, but still. Yeah, and it has a lot of bloodline.
Yeah.
Bloodline, when's it going to happen?
Yeah, layers. And another thing, too, I do want to throw this out there. We haven't seen anything come from WWE. It is Triple H running the show. We're talking about surprises. I'm curious if maybe J.D. McDonough ends up joining Judgment Day finally, because they teased it a little bit with him and Finn Balor. So they never went back to that. Maybe this is WWE's chance to say, hey, JD ends up helping Damian Priest, end up, helping Finn Balor, and then eventually there's like a power struggle between all three of those guys, and that could be something cool too. Just layers on layers on layers.
A lot of ways to go.
I just want surprises. I want surprises.
You and I both.
And like I said, my pick is Finn Balor, no cash in. You agree? We'll move on. Roman Reigns.
I agree. Finn Balor, no cash in.
Cool. Yeah, we got to talk about Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso.
Well, I mean, if we're going to go to any of the belts, I mean, there's no way Jey wins, right?
I'm so torn.
Or is there? Or do you think that? He can't? How does it play out? You've thought about it millions of times, right? Like
Roman, it's Roman versus Cody at WrestleMania 40. I will die on that hill. I don't think anybody should dethrone Roman unless it's Cody. With that being said, I would never ever in a million years be upset if it was Jey Uso. But also with that being said, because again I'm looking at stories and I'm looking at the best route for them to go. Where the hell has Jimmy Uso been? He's been in the hospital because Roman Reigns, right? I look at Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa as wild cards. I think eventually Solo Sikoa becomes the tribal chief. Long term, right? But in order to get there, we got to see more family issues. And I think Jimmy cost Jey the match. I do. I genuinely believe he's going to be pissed off because it's all because of Jey. All this happened because of Jey, right? So if Jimmy Uso comes in and costs Jey the match, you get that singles feud between them. And I think that is the better route because Roman Reigns, yet again, broken family, yet he retains. And the fact that he retains, it's not even so much that Jimmy is showing his loyalty to Roman, but I just think there's something there. Roman we know he got pinned. We know he can lose. We know he's destructible at this point. But he needs to hold that belt.
Kryptonite.
He is. And who is going to be the guy to stop that?
There's only one. It's his brother. It's his twin.
I think it's got to be Jimmy.
They proved it. Remember when I always go back to right before Jey super kicked Roman when he made that choice and he looked at him and we're his brother and they looked at each other and it's sort of that unless you have a twin or whatever, like you don't know, it's that connection. So I think to that connection is that it's the family where it's beyond the belt. My only question to you is I totally think that it's something like that, right? Because the only way Jey could win is if Solo turned.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's happened. It's too soon yet.
Yeah.
My question is, do we see any of the tribal family, any other tribal family? Not saying The Rock or anything, but do they bring anybody else out?
Yeah, The Rock.
You think they bring The Rock out here? No.
Yeah.
No, it's too early.
No, it could be too early, but here's the thing. They got the whole strike going on in Hollywood. right?
You're right.
So if there's ever a
Timing could be
time,
right.
if you ever want to make your B-level pay-per-views feel important, you have The Rock involved. I'm just saying it's a possibility. I have to be realistic. Do I think The Rock will show up? No, I genuinely don't believe so. But they've also been doing this thing with Grayson Waller, talking shit about The Rock on Twitter. He did he had a match against Jey Uso. He did the People's Elbow. You know, it wouldn't be a bad idea to have The Rock come back and straighten things out in this family. But I don't think that's going to happen. So if I'm being realistic, I have to say Rikishi's probably the most notable, you know. And I think Rikishi more so gets involved with Jimmy and Jey, not so much Roman. I want to see how they piece it together, because now it becomes a mess, right? You're teasing things with Solo.
It becomes a mess, and then who walks out of there smiling?
Yeah,
Heyman.
Yeah.
Heyman's the one who's giggling like he put it all, like it's all his master plan.
Yeah, there's something there. There is something that they're waiting to reveal, and they're not at that point yet. This is just another pay-per-view, another big-time match to get us there. But I have to wonder what their actual plan is, because if you turn Solo this soon, I think it's too early. I think if Roman dominates Jey with no ref bumps, no bullshit, I think it really hurts Jey Uso pinning him last time.
No, it's
you know?
gotta be. Roman's got to go over with like heel stuff.
Yeah.
With help. He's at the point now is that we all and Jey being his kryptonite, that it's got to have some outside interference.
But what happens if Jimmy and Jey go on to feud? Like, what happens to Roman? Because keep in mind, he's not advertised for the next 3 pay-per-views. He's not advertised for Survivor Series. He's not advertised for Fastlane or Payback. So, like, again, this is one of the issues with Roman, part-time champion. You know, he's part-time kind of. And I don't mind it. But now the story becomes about Jimmy and Jey. Well, what about Solo and Roman? How do they tell that story? How do they get there?
Well,
and I think there's some gaps there.
The whole thing is that, like you said, down the road is how did this is the making of why Solo becomes tribal chief.
Yeah.
Being around, having to be the enforcer, having to weather everything with Roman not being there, getting sick and tired of being, holding up that end of till he gets PO'd, and then eventually,
They have to, correct me if you think I'm wrong, but this is the perfect opportunity to really make it clear that Solo is eventually going to be one of the guys, because they kind of tease it with I forget what they call it, delay or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like maybe just show him conflicted. Maybe he doesn't want to get involved at that point, right? I don't know. Like, I just feel like they got to do something.
Like, to me it was because the Usos and Solo are all brothers.
Yeah.
He's the youngest, so it's like I would expect him to be a little bit more conflicted in support. I know it's his cousin and whatever like this, but there's got to be that break in him coming more towards his brothers, and maybe it's more of him supporting Jimmy.
Yeah.
And knocking Jey, and then it becomes not supporting Roman, but out supporting Jimmy.
Yeah.
Right? And then it becomes Solo and Jimmy while Roman's gone.
Is this the greatest storyline you have ever watched?
Well, it's absolutely, and here's the one thing, right? This is when you mentioned Picasso.
Yeah.
This is Paul Heyman's opus.
Yeah.
Right, out of everything that we've watched Paulie Dangerously over all the years, and this is all the knowledge and everything into this storyline that he's put in for the past,
3 years?
3 years going on. This is like, think about this. This is like, and this is the episodic, Star Wars, all the Lucas, all whatever you want to say. This is the masterpiece playing out in front of our eyes from one of the greatest storytellers, and to me, that's Paul Heyman's all over this.
Yeah, it feels that way, and that's what makes this, again, people are impatient, but that's what makes this one of the best things, I think. You watch wrestling Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays. Nobody has anybody else talking the way that they have us talking about the Bloodline.
And
that's
the surprises and the way that they do it, even though we're all sitting there for SmackDown and stuff, and we know what's going to go on, and then the way that they do it, and you're like, man, didn't see that coming. Every time.
if you've noticed, I talk about building stars a lot. It's always about building the future. It's always about the long game. And it's like, Jey, I get it. Like, again, kind of like the Sammy thing, right? Like, people wanted Sammy to win, but he didn't win, and then people move on, right? That's kind of how it is with Jey. Like, I love Jey. I would never be mad if we're sitting there and he wins. Look, good job. You ended the story. Great. But I just feel like this is not even second quarter. I don't feel like they've even hit halftime, to be honest. Like, this is, like, everything we've seen in 3 years. I feel like they could keep this going for 3 years, and people will tell me I'm crazy, but that's how many layers of this has gotten me so invested, and I think that's one of the best parts. And ultimately, we're talking about building stars. You got an NXT 2.0 guy, which he only spent 6 months in NXT, and they're still not even scratching the surface completely with him. So I see Solo Sikoa benefiting from this. I see so many people benefiting, and I genuinely believe this is the greatest storyline in wrestling. And look, I'm 29, and of course, people are always going to have their own opinions on this, but I've seen a lot of great stories in wrestling. This one is the one where I make sure I don't miss it. If I miss an episode of SmackDown, that's fine, but you bet your ass I'm going to the DVR and watching the Bloodline.
That's it.
And that right there is magical. And Paul Heyman and honestly, credit to Vince and Triple H too, because this all happened. Keep in mind, a lot of people forget the Bloodline storyline happened during COVID. Vince was running the show. Triple H inherited a champion that's been holding the belt for so long. What do? And he kept it going, and now WWE got to a point where people are still happy about this. And on top of that, it didn't kill Cody Rhodes. It didn't kill Sami Zayn. It didn't kill Drew McIntyre. Those guys can always rebound after their losses from Roman. But the best part is they can keep this going, and I think it's the recipe, man. This is, if you're a wrestling company, if you're AEW, if you're any of these companies, it doesn't matter. You got to look at the Bloodline angle and say, how can we have a storyline that's this popular, that creates new stars, that benefits other people, and on top of that puts asses in seats? And that's a very, very difficult task. They've done it. Roman Reigns is walking out as champion. Jimmy Uso turning, to me, is it's the what the fuck moment. It is. Brothers turning on brothers. This crazy family, man. I don't know. But I do know one thing for sure. Detroit will love this.
Oh yeah.
Cinema. That's what they say. Cinema. It's the memes all over. But I can't wait to see what the reaction is going to be. And if it is The Rock, let's just throw this out there. If The Rock shows up in Detroit, I'm going to lose both my eardrums. I'm not going to be able to record podcasts. I'm not going to be able to talk. I probably won't even hear myself think, because it just, at this point, it just seems like The Rock could be the one last piece to right now, like that, just icing on the cake. And I think that right there, Detroit, we got surprises coming.
I like it. I just think it's too early.
I get it. But at this point, screw it. Just do it.
All right. I'm with you.
I love it.
Screw it and do it.
Just do it. Right?
Absolutely. Detroit, 2023 SummerSlam.
I love it. Darren McCarty.
Thank you, Ango.
I appreciate you, brother. Thank you to Woodward Sports Network for allowing us to use this great studio.
Absolutely.
Great things happening every single day. So
Thanks,
make sure you guys. JB, you're the man. Appreciate you. Guys, check out all the links in the description. My name is Ango. This is Darren McCarty. This is a special episode of The Ango Show. We'll see you next time.